Hi, Jason Knott, editor of CE Pro, and today we are talking about lighting with Mike Libman, National Sales Director, Residential Systems at DMF Lighting. Hi, Mike.
How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, the lighting category is so hot, yet for many integrators, it's confusing, and they're dealing with so many different stakeholders or influencers in the market. They got the builders, the electricians, the interior designers, the architects, the lighting designers. Where do each one of those partners fit in to the scheme for the integrator to getting into lighting?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different stakeholders that traditionally influence what fixtures end up on a new construction project. And really, this is a unique opportunity to be able to provide a win-win for all those different stakeholders. You've got electricians, architects, builders, interior designers, and ultimately the homeowner. So, right now the experience is not in line with the fit and finish of most luxury residences. Ultimately, lighting is about enhancing the things that people love about their homes, and that mission is underserved. So for us at DMF, we're really trying to figure out how can we partner with integrators around the country to help bridge that gap. A really small portion of luxury projects have a lighting designer actually on them. Based on talking to dealers every day, it's less than 5% nationally. So a lot of the questions and concerns are: what type of projects can I enter in at? Where can I add value? And we want to help in how to do that successfully.
Why do you think the market is so underserved, a lighting category? Because we know every home needs lighting. Is it because there are too many cooks in the kitchen here in regards to lighting, or is it because it's just not, the knowledge base isn't there yet for every one of those stakeholders?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different factors at play. The first of which, lighting was traditionally more of a commodity for a very long time before LED really proliferated. Around that same time, you see LEDs as well as controls becoming more and more common. I mean, controls have been around longer than that. But with that complexity, you really need someone that understands lighting and the technology behind it in order to execute it properly. Now, from a design perspective, lighting designers are artists. There's only so many of them that have been able to address what is a very large portion of homes around the country. So how do you address those homes that maybe there's not an appetite for the spend of a lighting designer, or others are just not having that conversation or aren't aware that that's an essential piece of what the finished design is ultimately going to look like?
All right, so we talked about the new construction market and all the players there. Obviously, there's the existing home market too. Give us a sense of what's the starting point for an integrator to get into this category, and how should he best proceed?
Yeah, so there's a couple different types of projects, and ultimately you'll be doing all of these simultaneously as an integrator. But kind of stepping up in levels, the basic entry point, the easiest way to do it, the least amount of channel conflict, the easy to execute is going to be retrofitting existing projects. The other benefit is that's an immediate source of revenue. So I feel that a lot of the early discussions around lighting in the CI channel have been around how do you do a full-blown lighting design for a project that may not transact for 24 and 36 months. So with that, you're waiting to see that revenue. There's a lot of logistics. There's potential channel conflict. And really retrofit, if you're doing lighting control, if you're doing a retrofit lighting control, 100% of the time you should pair that with fixtures, and you'll see immediate revenue from it. And it establishes a comfort level for those longer term new construction projects that are going to take that extended time period to see. Beyond that, you can also go into fixture upgrading. So without having full blown design, you get an RCP from an architect. There's either no spec, which we see often. You've got a grid of circles on the plan. So how do you upgrade those fixtures based on that existing placement? The next level is how do you upgrade those? So finding common mistakes, like 4 cans and a fan, or fixtures in the middle of a walk-in closet where you're casting a shadow on your clothing no matter where you're standing. Some of those common mistakes that we see on plans every single day, you can add a ton of value to your client by addressing those and just tweaking the existing design. And then, the final piece is full-scale design for new construction long-term. That still is the bulk of our business today. And there's a lot of different ways to tackle that, whether that's having in-house lighting design, but that's a significant investment if you don't have the revenue to support that immediately. There's outsourced lighting design. So you've got folks like Glenn Johnson and David Werfel that can help you. They understand the CI channel. It's built to support the CI channel and being an outsourced design resource. Or you can leverage manufacturers to help with really more of a layout, not a full-blown lighting design like the folks I just mentioned, but we can help with some of those upgrade packages and provide something that's going to be more detailed and ultimately a better user experience than what's on the plans for most projects that we see today.
So you mentioned some of the support that DMF can give to integrators. What are some other ways that you as a manufacturer help support integrators getting into the channel?
Well, a big part, fortunately, we've got a really talented engineering team that designed our entire platform with modularity in mind. So when you think about, what manufacturers do you want to partner with, you want something to make sure that it's going to work. You don't want to have compatibility issues. You want to be able to get product. So people have been dealing with supply chain issues. So making sure that if you do lean in and take on the fixture scope for a project, you're not holding up drywall or the progress of a project. That's really important as well. And also a platform that if you make a mistake, since it is a new category, or if things change from rough to finish, what is going to be the labor and material cost to pivot or correct that? And so, as at DMF, we're very fortunate that we've kind of built a platform that addresses all those different components. And I think that's been a big part of why we've had success in this channel.
I think one of the other things that I've heard you talk about in the past is how you can help an integrator talk to that builder, talk to that architect, talk to that electrician about how to develop a partnership and what you've seen work with other integrators and how they're not going to feel like they got the short end of the stick because the integrator's involved here. How would that work? How would they have that conversation with you and your team?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of the time I'm having that business conversation before I talk about anything related to DMF, because I think that's an essential component. And we don't need to do everything. You're going to need to partner with other manufacturers, whether that be linear or other categories that we don't address. But as far as how do you navigate the channel, how do you communicate, the key is understanding what their buying criteria is, as it relates to their influence, what's important to all these different stakeholders. And it is different for an architect versus a builder versus a homeowner. But this is a unique situation where it really can be a win-win for everyone in that chain. And what we can do is we can certainly talk about, we've been in business for 35 years and we've been trying to surround projects for that entire time. So we understand what that criteria is, and we want to help integrators be able to navigate that and really add value to all those folks that, we have done business with for a long time.
One last area, and I know I've heard you mention before the advantages of having a champion within your team who is really going to be the one who's educating and then talking to the rest of the team about how to expand this lighting category. Talk about the value of doing that within an organization.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Taking someone and either growing them to learn about it right off the bat or hiring someone, there's different paths to that. But as far as the homegrown, we've seen that putting fixtures in someone's home, that same retrofit concept, being able to see how it impacts a space that you're very familiar with, see how easy it is to swap that out. That's a great path to create a champion internally with your team. Eric Joy at Georgia Home Theater did that for his team. And we saw that the amount of requests and, projects ultimately accelerated very rapidly upon doing that.
What do you say to the integrator who's watching this and listening to this and saying, "Oh, I'm too busy to get into lighting. I'm already filled with all the other categories. Why should I break into this new category?" Well,
when we started talking to integrators about 5 years ago about lighting, it was, why should we do this? Now we are at a point where it's more, how do we execute properly than why? I will tell you that's the fastest growing part of our overall business, and we're having a lot of success in working with integrators. So I think we're past the point of, is the fixture category going to be adopted by the CI channel? And ultimately, the reason to do it is, your competitors are engaged in lighting, and it's a meaningful category, especially if you're doing lighting control and shades. It's parallel to the business that you're already doing.
So what are some other quick pieces of advice that you can give to integrators on how they can be successful in lighting?
Yeah, a big one is be consultative in how you have the conversations about lighting. Typically, a homeowner has something that they really love about their home, whether it's finishes, furniture, if it's key architectural elements, and that translates to the interior designer and the architect as well. Being able to actually show and talk about the things that they're already connected with, leveraging samples to highlight color palettes, leveraging samples to show different pieces and how it's actually going to look in the space. That's a much more effective path than just saying, hey, we've got a certain CRI level or a certain dimming level. Really, the proof is in being able to put your hands on the product and be able to see the product, ideally in the space. But if not, then certainly in the showrooms. And we found that integrators that have made that investment in having product in their showrooms tend to ramp more quickly than those that don't.
And when you say having product in the showroom, we're not talking about some full scale, add a new wing to the showroom. This can be done in a confined small space in the showroom efficiently and not too cost effectively.
Yeah, and most manufacturers have programs to support those types of initiatives, ourselves included. But you can do a full-blown lighting room and have vignettes that are committed, and certainly some dealers have taken that path. But you can also take an existing listening room and light it properly with a few scenes to be able to tell the story of why lighting is important. So you can leverage existing spaces and really enhance those to tell that story. But there are different ways depending on how much space you have and the investment you're willing to make. There's a lot of different ways to do it effectively. And we've seen a lot of those deployments, so we can provide guidance based on your space.